All right, Miami takes on Charlotte. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Thursday, February 17th, 2022. Happy Thursday to you. The weekend's right around the corner. Miami's minus 4.5 with the total at 224. We're 2-0 in our last two crowd pleaser teasers on BrockPage.com. And if you want to access today's crowd pleaser teaser on my website, the link for that pick is in the description section below. Now I'm going to handicap the entire slate on these videos here today. Not going to leave many games out on my channel here today, but if you want to see which one of these free picks that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website at BrockPage.com. We have packages beginning at just $1.99. But when it comes to this Miami-Charlotte game, well, it's the Heat who's gotten the W in 5 out of their last 6 ball games, despite being banged up. And not only are these guys allowing just 104 points per contest on the road, they're actually leading the entire NBA in defensive rebounding per contest. Bam Adebayo is averaging double-digit rebounds a game. He's also scoring 18 points a night. Meanwhile, Kyle Lowry is averaging 13 points a game himself, along with 4 boards and 8 assists. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings in this one, the Heat's limiting Charlotte to just 102 points per contest in their last 10 games against each other. And speaking of Charlotte, they've been playing some really bad basketball here recently. They're actually on a 2-game losing streak, and they also dropped 8 out of their last 9. Now, the Hornets' biggest problem this season has been their defensive effort, or lack thereof. They're allowing 115 points a game, and they're also in the bottom 3 in defensive boards. Now, injury-wise, Hayward, Martin, and McDaniels are out. Meanwhile, for Miami, Haslam, Butler, and Martin are questionable for them. Morris, Dedmon, and Hero, they're sitting this one out here tonight. Now, total-wise, Charlotte went 6-3 to the under in their last 9 ball games. Meanwhile, Miami went 4-2 to the under in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward the Miami Heat minus 4.5 and the under 224. Next matchup, it is going to be Wizards versus the Nets, 7:30 Eastern start time. Brooklyn's minus 4.5 with the total at 216. The Nets have covered the number in their last 4 straight, and they're in the top 10 in the business in guarding the field goal. As a matter of fact, the Nets are also leading the NBA in defending the 3-ball as well. These guys surprisingly playing very good on the defensive end of the court in certain spots here. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Seth Curry's averaging 21.5 points per contest with his new team in a couple of games. LaMarcus Aldridge is also scoring over 13.5 points per contest himself, along with 5 boards. And speaking of rebounds, the Nets are currently in the top 5 in home offensive boards per game. They're taking on a Washington team who failed to cover in 8 out of their last 10. And they've also gone just 8-18 against the spread on the road. This is a team who really struggles to cover the number when traveling. Now, Washington is scoring just 104 points a game away from their home court. And they're in the bottom 5 in road offensive rebounding. Now, injury-wise, Porzingis is out, Hachimura and Gafford are questionable. Meanwhile, for Brooklyn on the other side of things, Irving, Durant, Simmons, and Harris, they are all out for them. When it comes to the total in this one, Brooklyn's 5-1 to the over in their last 6 ball games. Meanwhile, Washington saw overs recently with Sacramento, Miami, and this very Brooklyn team. Now, the Wizards have also allowed 116 points a game in their last 10 meetings with the Nets. I'm going to lean toward Brooklyn minus 4.5 and the over 216. Next contest, it is going to be Mavericks versus the Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Dallas is minus 3 with the total at 214. And despite a loaded injury report, the Mavs still got the W in 5 out of their last 6 ball games. Now, they've also been very good covering the point spread here lately as well. They're 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 outings. And they're actually in the top 3 in the NBA in fewest road points allowed. These guys have been very tough on the defensive end of the court. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Luka Doncic is averaging 27 points per contest along with 9 boards and 9 assists. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson is scoring 16 points a night along with 3 boards and 5 assists as well. And speaking of boards, the Mavs are currently in the top 10 in defensive rebounding on the road. They're taking on a Pelicans team who lost 3 out of their last 4, and they successfully covered the number only once during that short stretch. Now, New Orleans is also a dozen games below 500 right now, and they also rank in the bottom 5 in scoring on average per game. A lot of problems here in New Orleans. These guys have struggled putting points up on the board. Now, when it comes to shooting the 3 ball, New Orleans is making only 32% of their 3-pointers in the Smoothie King Center, so these guys have been little threat shooting the long ball. When it comes to the injury report, Nance is still out for New Orleans. Meanwhile, for Dallas, Bullock, Burke, and Ntilikina, they are questionable for them. And when it comes to the total in this one, Dallas saw overs recently with OKC, Orlando, and the Clippers. They're also averaging 121 points a game in their last 10 meetings with the Pels. Meanwhile, New Orleans saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the posted number themselves. Overs against the likes of Memphis and San Antonio during that span. I'm going to lean toward Dallas -3 and the over 214. Next ball game, it is going to be Sixers versus the Bucks, 8:30 p.m. East. Milwaukee's -7 at home, totals 223.5. But despite being favored in this one, Milwaukee failed to cover in their last 3 straight. And they've also had a pretty tough time covering the number in the Fiserv Forum this year. The Bucks are currently just 11-19 ATS at home. And that's good for just 36% in that particular category. And although there's really not much to nitpick about when it comes to Milwaukee, they actually have had some issues shooting the basketball at home. As a matter of fact, the Bucks are currently in the bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage on their home court. They're taking on a Sixers team who plays their best basketball on the road. Philadelphia is actually 18-10 straight up when traveling this year. And they actually find themselves in the top 5 in shooting the 3 ball away from their home court. Now, Tyrese Maxey, he's drilling 40% of his 3-pointers for Philadelphia, 16 points a game for the guard as well. Meanwhile, Joel Embiid's averaging nearly 30 points a game himself, along with 11 rebounds. And when it comes to the defensive play of Philadelphia, well, the Sixers are in the top 10 in fewest road points allowed. When it comes to the injury list, Harden and Springer are still out for Philly. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, on the other side of things, Hill and Connaughton are out. Matthews and Allen are questionable. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee saw unders recently with the likes of Washington and Cleveland. Meanwhile, Philadelphia went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. They're also 16-12 to the under in their games away from home. I'm going to lean toward the underdog, Philadelphia 76ers +7 and the under 223.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Rockets versus the Clippers, 10:30 p.m. East. The LA Clippers are -11 with the total at 229.5. But as bad as Houston's been this year, we're looking at a Clipper team who failed to cover in 5 out of their last 8. And they also have a losing record against the point spread at home. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two squads, LA is allowing nearly 115 points a game in their last 10 contests against the Rockets. Now, the Clippers' biggest issue this season has been their inability to rebound the basketball. LA is currently in the bottom 10 in offensive boards, and they also find themselves in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding as well. Now, they're taking on a Houston club who still has a winning record against the number on the road this year. When it comes to the scoring in this one, well, the Rockets actually do most of their scoring late in games. Houston currently finds themselves in the top 5 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring on the road. Really not many teams out there that do it better than these guys in the fourth quarter away from home. Now, Eric Gordon, he's making 42% of his three-pointers this year. He's also averaging 14 points a game. This guy is dangerous from beyond the arc, especially when it gets hot. Meanwhile, Jalen Green, he's averaging over 14 points per contest himself, along with 3 boards and a couple assists as well. Now, when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two teams, the Rockets have covered in 6 out of their last 10 meetings with the Clippers. Now, injury-wise, Wood, Schroeder, Porter, and Garuba, they are questionable for Houston. Meanwhile, for Los Angeles, Powell and Preston are still out indefinitely for them. When it comes to the total in this one, LA saw unders recently with Phoenix, Dallas, and Charlotte. Meanwhile, the Rockets on the other side saw unders recently with New Orleans, San Antonio, and Golden State themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston plus 11, keeping this one close. And the under 229.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com. We are currently 2-0 in our last 2 crowd pleaser teasers on that website. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Miami minus 4.5 under 224. Brooklyn minus 4.5 over 216. I also like Dallas minus 3 over 214. Give me Philadelphia plus 7 under 223.5. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Houston plus 11 in the under 229.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on that website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And if you want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you're going to want to sign up for my board member tier package. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.